Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 2 of My Formula app. I've got to first say how impressed I was with most of you from yesterday. A lot of you had trouble getting into your files. Others had trouble moving around, but that's beautiful. The thing I loved was the persistence that I saw. People sent me questions, I replied, and you just kept digging until you got it. Almost everybody has what we see right here, except of course your name appears. I've put notes on yours in red. Please make sure you make those corrections even before you watch the rest of the video. You can pause this video, go make the corrections. There's some capitalization questions, sometimes where maybe somebody had something that looked like this, where a word was off center just a little bit, or it was too far to the right or the left. Really minor things that need to be taken care of. Do not erase the red notes that I put. I will need to look at those later on. Here's probably the most interesting thing that gave some of you, in fact most of you, a little bit of trouble. If you look at the bottom of my screen here, you have a number n squared, enter n, and you put in 11, n squared equals, and we'll figure out how to make something pop up in here later. And right below that, a number n cubed, enter n, and you have 10. But below that, which you could not see easily if your screen was zoomed in too far, is n cubed equals. Now I'm going to work today starting over here, and just to show you why that happened is I'm going to zoom in on my screen so that you can see what I'm doing better. And now there's a lot of things you can't see. So anytime you're working with a screen, make sure you're zoomed out far enough, or you're scrolling left, right, up, down far enough that you make sure you see everything. That was kind of cool. All right, today, here's where the magic begins. We're going to actually teach our formula app to do things. We're going to start by having it add these two numbers. Now, I've got the directions on a page. You can review them later. Right now, I'm going to actually take you through the steps that are on the page that was in your assignment folder today. The first step in, I think, any calculation is to tell that little cell there that you want it to do a calculation. You do that by typing the letter or typing the symbol equal. You notice the equal popped up. That is alerting this cell that we want it to do a calculation. But right now it doesn't know what calculation we want it to do, and it doesn't know what cells we want it to look at to do the calculation. So we have to tell it. We do that by clicking in the first cell. So I look at the cell with 3 and I click it. Notice it doesn't say 3 down in the cell. It says cell C4. It tells you what I see up there right now is a 3, but whatever's up there, I'm going to look at cell C4. Well, what do I want it to do with cell C4? Well, I want it to add it to something. So I type a plus symbol. What do I want to add it to? I want to add it to cell C5. So I click cell C5. Down here in cell C7, and also up here in our bar that tells us the functions that we want it to do, we have C4 plus C5. It does tell us right now that if I hit enter, this is the answer I'm going to get. Now I'm just going to finish up the calculations in this cell by hitting enter, and bam, up pops 8. Here's where the real beauty comes in. I don't have to do that every time. Your next step is going to be to come up to cell C7, or excuse me, C4, and type in a number like 127 and hit enter. And lo and behold, it recalculates and gives you 132. If I want to go to cell C5 and type in 1000, I can hit enter, or I can also hit tab if I want my little cursor box to go to the right. And now, oops, I didn't put in 1000, I only put in 100, tab. Now my answer is 1127. Let's see if we can do that with each of the rest of the calculations on this page. Let's pause for just a second and think, how would I get my formula app to subtract 3 from 10? All right, first, what are we going to type first? Well, we're going to go to the cell where we want to do the calculation, and the first thing that we'll type is, correct, equal. Then I'm going to refer it to which cell I want it to look at. I want it to look at that cell. What do I want it to do? I want it to subtract. Subtract. And what do I want to subtract from cell C10? I want to subtract whatever is in C11, and I can hit enter or tab, and there's my answer. All right, I'm going to do these other ones here. Let's do multiplication. I go to where I want to put my product. How do I start? That's correct. I start with an equal sign. What do I want to multiply? I want to multiply this cell. Now, what do you think will be the symbol for multiplication? You might remember that in our class on the board, there were times when we said it's not good to use an X for multiplication. We used a little dot or a star. It is on your keyboard the asterisk. It's above an 8, or in some pads, or keyboards, if you have a number pad, it's above the number pad. Sometimes it's in both places. What do I want to multiply? I want to multiply that, and I hit tab or enter, and there's my multiplication. Let's try that again. I'm just curious. What's 7 times 5? Well, I'll hit tab, and it just changed my product to 35. All right, let's do a quotient. We all know by now the first thing we hit is equal. What do I want to divide? I want to divide this cell, or whatever's in this cell. And how do I say divide? It is the slash key, which is underneath your question mark. It just looks like we're creating a fraction. What do I want to divide that cell by? I want to divide it by this cell, and I hit enter. Wow, that was weird. That didn't work. I wonder why. Let's try again. Well, this will happen to you. When that happens, you need to have a little persistence. I want to hit equal. I want to take this cell. I want to divide it by this cell, and there it says 5. Now that time I did it with the slash that was above my keyboard. Let me try it again with the slash that's at my question mark. See if I can figure out why that went wrong. There, divided by there. This time it worked. Sometimes you just get little hiccups. Don't let them freak you out. I'm kind of glad that happened. That means we need to zoom out now. And we can do our number squared. Let me zoom into there a little bit. And since I covered up my cubes, I will just go over to the right, drag down until I can see them. Now, what does it mean to square a number? That's right, we multiply it by itself. So I want to say equals this, whatever's in this cell, I'm going to use that little asterisk again, multiplied by whatever's in that cell. And I'll hit tab this time. 11 times 11 is 121. If you want to check it out, and you should do this every time you enter a formula, put in a number where you already know the answer to. Let's see, I know that 3 times 3, or 3 squared, is 9. So let me put a 3 in, hit tab, and see if my 121 changes to a 9. It did. I must have done things right. Now our last one, what does n cubed mean? Well, we know it means n times n times n. So let's tell our cell we want it to do that. Equal this cell times this cell. Oops, that said minus that cell. Here's where we're talking about precision. And it's why I was very particular about capitalization and where things are spaced. Notice that right in here, I have a minus instead of a times. Zoom in closer. Well, I can't seem to zoom in closer. There we go. Now that we're in close, we would see that I said this cell minus something. So I don't want to do that. It's times. There's the asterisk. This cell times this cell again. So we have n times n times n. And if I hit tab, 10 times 10 is 100, times 10 is 1,000. Let's see if it worked. Yes, it did. Let's try something simpler. 5 times 5 we know is 25, and 25 times 5 should give me 125. And there it is. All right, let's have you all do that in your own basic calculation sheet. When you're done, come up and click Submit, or Share. I'm sorry, click Share. It'll ask you to enter a name or an email address. If you start typing my name, B-O-H-L, by then my icon for email will pop up. Make sure, well, that's not the one that you guys will see. You'll see my name and mboland at mvcsd.us. So you'll just click it. It'll be the correct one for me, and click send. I'm not going to send that because I don't need to send this to myself somewhere else. All right. I will look forward to getting your sheets as you finish them today. Have a great day.